So now we'll be talking about Baha specifically from the point of view of hotel operators and developers. And I think before we get started right into the tough questions that I will ask, I want each of the panelists just to give a quick introduction of themselves, the company that they work for, and why Baha? Why are they here? Why are they looking at Baha? Are they currently doing a project in Baha, or do they want to do a project in Baha? So we can start with you, Shaikha.
Shaikha-Al-Nowais, Rotana Hotels. We're a hotel management company. We operate 7 hotels already in Saudi Arabia, 3 in Jeddah, 3 in Riyadh, 2 in Jeddah, 1 in Khabar, and hopefully opening very soon in Dammam. I think we're very lucky that we have already signed an agreement with Somak, Uthman Al-Ghamdi and Yasser Al-Ghamdi to operate a hotel in Baha. And we're very excited about this opportunity. We're looking forward to it. I would like to also thank sincerely the Ministry of Tourism, STA, His Excellency Mahmoud Tareq AlShaghrood, His Excellency Fahad Hamid al-Din, CEO of STA, and Mohammed Basrawi for the responsiveness, for their support. We've been interacting with them a lot lately, and we can't thank them enough for their constant support.
I like what you mentioned there about the support, and I think that was shown very evidently earlier as well in the presentations. Just the example of Sierra Group. I mean, how many logos were up there working all together? Probably 10 different, entities from the government and private sector working together to get the projects moving ahead. So that's something very interesting. Chris?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Chris Nader. I'm the co-founder of ENVI Lodges. ENVI is a new brand that specializes in the operation of eco-lodges. Now, what do we mean by eco-lodges? We have 3 types of accommodation that we operate: luxury tented camps, modular prefab units, and alternative pods. And by alternative pods, we mean trailers, tree houses, floating units, anything that is really creative. Why we're here? Because I believe Baha is 100% fit for what we do. We are in an amazing environment that is suitable for adventure, for nature, for wellness, and this is what we stand for. We have an amazing opportunity to capitalize on the natural beauty of Baha. We are the favorite type of brand for entities like Ministry of Agriculture, like Al-Mahmiyat, the natural reserves, like anything that has agricultural land, forests, because we have very high standards of sustainability, we have low impact on the environment, and we operate at the highest levels of luxury.
Tareq, from your side, I know you gave a big presentation earlier, so the introduction maybe will be a bit shorter. So what I want to ask you as well at the same time is, in terms of government incentives for developers and operators wanting to come and establish a development in Baha, what are the things that you as a government institution help with when it comes to incentives for new developments as well as potentially existing developments that want to improve the standards to meet, the growing tourism?
Well, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I won't take up too much time on introduction, as I believe everybody is now hopefully aware of our role at investment attraction at the Ministry of Tourism and how we can help throughout the investor's journey in the tourism sector. When it comes to how we work with the market as a whole to make sure that services are enhanced and there is better development of hotels, we look at it from 3 main perspectives, starting with regulations and licensing. So what we've done on that end is we've completely revamped our licensing and permits legislation. 10 months ago, it was announced and put in place. our main goal was twofold. One is to have a very sophisticated, clear, and easy licensing process and classification process for operators and hotel owners to work with. Two was to increase the quality of accommodation across the kingdom. It is no secret that today we suffer from a lack of supply and a lack of quality. So our aim with that new piece of legislation was to make sure that things are very clear and we are able to implement quality across our accommodation offering. It's very also important to note that when we did that piece of legislation, we worked directly with the private sector. So before it was officially put in place, we announced it to the public, we announced it to all the operators, we sent them emails, we said, please have a look, let us know, does it work, what do you have in terms of feedback, because that is part of our DNA today. As part of our transformation, we work hand in hand with the government. Now, the second perspective that we look through is awareness. So today we're working with hotel owners and developers to make sure that they are aware of the importance of working with an operator, because an operator is not just somebody that comes in and takes away a percentage from your bottom line. They have a lot to offer in terms of expertise, and we see that as something that's very important for those that lack the expertise. At the end of the day, it's a new sector for the country, especially when it comes to leisure travel. So we want to make sure that we have the right brands, the right operators working with the owners and developers to make sure that the offering is at its best. Now, the other part is there are certain hotel owners and developers that have expertise in the sector. So what we are doing to give them that extra push is we're working with them and training them and making sure that the workers at those establishments are well trained. I mentioned the $100 million or 375 million riyal program that we announced last year, and that's just one of many programs that we're doing in terms of human capital development. Finally, what we're doing in that regard to improve the service, to improve the offering, is attracting new operators and helping them expand. So, Chris, we were talking back when ENVI was an idea way back when. And it's great today that we've reached this stage. So this is what we try to do. We try to attract operators that are non-existent in the kingdom, bring them to a new market, make sure that offering is put in place, and we match make, we facilitate in order to help them establish in the kingdom, and as a result improve the offering. The other piece is expansion. So we're working with Rotana, we're working with many other operators to expand their presence and their footprint across Saudi Arabia, and that has been successful. I don't want to name any names, but most of the largest operators, the big four or the big five, have announced that most of them will double their presence in Saudi Arabia in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think that's essentially how we see that improvement come about.
Okay, thank you. I think, Chris, yeah, I was coming to you actually from your perspective as an operator, as a new operator as well as a niche operator. How have you worked with the government, such as with Tareq?
Thank you, Christopher. I was going to comment on that point, and I wish, Tareq, you were not here, because I was going to talk about you in a good way, but I don't want to do it in front of you. We're working in different countries trying to develop eco-lodges, Africa, Europe, the Middle East. We're really in deep discussions at several levels, and honestly, I've never seen support in a country the way I see it here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Because the support from the Ministry of Tourism, from the Tourism Development Fund, from MISA as well, has been really tremendous. For a new brand coming into the market, although we are very specialized, we are very niche, the opportunities are huge in the Kingdom, to receive the support from the authorities has been really amazing. And today, off record, if we bring any project to the Ministry of Tourism, to TDF, for an ENVI lodge that financially is feasible, they will close their eyes and sign on it. That's the type of relationship we developed with them, and really we've had amazing support in that sense.
Okay, great. Just want to talk a bit as well further. You know, obviously there's a lot of incentives and a lot of support and guidance from a lot of different entities for investors that are going into this industry, especially for the first time. But are there still any barriers, Shaikha? Do you see still any barriers to entry for new operators, new owners, developers? You know, what?
Before I go into barriers of entry, I just wanted to add on to Chris's point.
Yeah,
I think as an operator and having worked in Saudi for a while now, the responsiveness we have seen from MOT or STA has been great. And that's what is allowing us as operators to be more confident in the vision of Saudi. The barriers to entry, I think, would be preparing the right workforce to be in line with the demand that's coming in. You know, we have to prepare the right youth. We as operators, we are entitled to train those people, but we need the government support on that, because for them to be ready to operate and to open this much scale of demand that's coming into Saudi, human capital is key.
And how would you do that practically for, because Baha obviously is a much smaller place with a smaller population, and you know, with the amount of supply coming in the bigger cities as well, drawing the talent to potentially the bigger cities, how as an operator then do you make sure that you retain that talent, you train them? Practically, what does that look like?
I think already Baha is, it's my first time to Baha, and I'm very excited to explore it. As I said, it's a natural gem, and the people of Baha are already keen to have visitors come to Baha. They don't have the right infrastructure yet, but they have natural historical destinations and attractions that will maybe give more job opportunities to people from Baha, from Abha, and neighboring cities that are very close to come and work. But I think as well the government should find the right incentive to either send those people on scholarships, bring them back, and for us to train and to make them ready.
Okay, so it's really a joint effort.
I think we should do something like that. At the moment, we cannot operate a hotel without hiring 30% of Saudi nationals. But in the future, when we have more keys and more supply, then this will definitely need a better strategy in place to meet the supply that's coming into the market.
Yeah, and actually I can already see and sense the sort of motivation and excitement for working in hotels, which a few years ago maybe you wouldn't see. And now you see people that are motivated about the industry.
They are very motivated.
Yeah.
Especially in destinations as well, like Baha, because there's a lot to talk about and there's a story to tell to the visitor. So the enthusiasm I have seen, whether with our owners or with people in Baha, is giving us more confidence to be in Baha. Yeah. And we're very excited to be here, inshallah.
And talking about the barriers to entry, infrastructure is obviously one that is still being developed in Baha as a younger destination of tourism. So Chris, just want to ask you from hotel operators' perspective or developers that you work with, what comes first? Do you wait for the infrastructure, the festivals, the malls, all of that to come in first, or do you bring the hotels with it?
So obviously for us, whatever I'm going to say is in the context of what we do as outdoor hospitality. And an outdoor hospitality project in Eco Lodge is a festival by itself. when you come up with an amazing project that is, let's say, a tented camp in Baha, where you're offering amazing experiences, this alone is an attraction. This alone is an activation of a destination. So while maybe some other operators or other types of projects need that infrastructure to be in place, we have a unique opportunity to come at the early stage, because we can actually develop projects completely off-grid without having an infrastructure, whether it's from electricity, water, sewage, etc. Our development cycle is very short. Traditional hotels need 3 to 4 years. We can develop a project from A to Z within 12 months. So we are actually part of the solution for these new destinations to activate tourism projects very quickly that puts this destination on the map. Now, of course, if you don't have the ability to reach that destination within a reasonable time frame, without having to jump on 3 planes, 6 buses, and 2 trains, then obviously, they have some consideration that have to be there. But today, coming from Riyadh, from Jeddah, from Taif to Al-Baha is extremely convenient. And we, as ENVI Lodges, should be amongst the first project to see the light in these types of destinations, because we contribute to the tourism objective of the government. The challenge we have, to be honest, is obviously on finding the right land, finding the right location. That's the challenge we have. Why? Because we're not looking at 4,000 square meter in downtown Baja. We're looking at 100,000 square meter in the mountain on the cliff somewhere. And this 100,000 square meter, yeah, sometimes it can be in the hands of the private sector, but how do you find them? How do you find that owner is complicated? Most of the time is in the hand of ministries or municipalities. So how do we get to them? Through our friends at MOT who really are supportive. And then you have to go through that process of, okay, I'm interested in that land. How do I get a lease on that land? We like to move very fast. Some systems are not yet oiled to move as fast as we want them. So we would love to, work closely with the municipalities to try to see how we can actually get access to these lands much faster to develop them. Because the success in what we do is actually activating projects very quickly. And therefore, we need to acquire land very quickly. I have shareholders. My company has Saudi shareholders. They're ready to put 50 million, 100 million riyal on a project. I've been working, very closely with Ministry of Tourism to identify the right land to be able to activate these projects. And inshallah, we'll get there.
So Tareq, do you see this as, compared to the traditional hotels that take, 3-4 years to build, do you see this as an attractive proposition for smaller destinations like Al-Baha to quickly activate, get the supply in the city?
100%. I think, this is something that we took into consideration when we built the national tourism strategy. So that was one of the questions that we had in mind, and we believed we will definitely need to start with, a glamping offering, a retreat, off the grid type offering that ENVI fully represents. However, we believe there is even a step further that needs to come in place before all the infrastructure is ready. It's the essential question of, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I think, when they first asked that question, capitalism wasn't around yet. Capitalism today, rewards the first mover. So, we've seen people that have realized this first mover advantage, and they're investing. So Somak went ahead and they're doing something great. Sira is executing the largest investment in tourism investment in Al-Baha's history, and we're seeing this theme recur across different destinations. So definitely in terms of a more lean offering, glamping type offering in the beginning, but that does not mean that the more traditional offering should wait. I think the opportunity is clear to everybody, and it's huge. And you know, we as the government have proven time and time again that, you know, when there is a promise made, we deliver on that promise. And I think, you know, that has been represented very well in the 5-year report of the Vision 2030. You know, when we announced it last year, we proved that, you know, those targets that we put in place and have been achieved, and those that bet with us will reap the benefits. So, and I think the private sector has realized that, and we're seeing the embodiment of it in Baha and other destinations across the kingdom.
Okay, very good. So basically, instead of chicken or the egg, it's chicken and the egg at the same time in parallel, so that infrastructure, the ecosystem, and by the time the hotels are built, because it takes 2, 3, 4 years, then everything will be ready more or less at the same time.
100%. And let me add one thing. I mean, say, you know, one of the event organizing companies, the large scale event organizing companies decide to do a festival in Baha today. Where will people stay? So it's something that we need to work with, and it will bring the marketing, it will bring the events, it will bring everything with it.
Yeah, very good. So we're just waiting for the omelette next turn in maybe a few years' time. Shaikha, I want to ask you, you know, what are you looking for in a project to go ahead that, you know, as Rotana, you're excited about the project to go ahead with?
Enthusiastic owners like Sumak, and that's key. Passionate people like them as well. I think this is key to making a project successful, and believing in the destination, like Baha, for example. Location is very important. The support we're getting from the government also is very important. Obviously, all the attractions that are around in new cities like Baha and the nature as well is also very important. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, very good. And coming back to Chris here, in terms of, you know, from an operator's point of view, you know, when you look at Riyadh, for example, there's a huge infrastructure, so it's easy to get the food and beverage supplies and everything you need. But how do you operate a remote destination, you know, like an ENVI lodge in a second-tier city like Baha?
Yeah, the
from
question,
a practical point of view, you know, what's the challenges and how do you overcome those challenges?
The question would have been more difficult to answer if you're talking about a desert location when there's really nothing around you. But a place like Baha, you're talking about food, for instance. We put priority on a farm-to-table type of experience. So part of our operating standards is working very closely with local farmers, and local producers, to be able to get those ingredients. You know, when you do an eco-lodge or an eco-retreat with a farm-to-table experience, you shouldn't have a menu. In your restaurant, there shouldn't be a menu, because those ingredients are not always available. I'm not going to bring, you know, salmon from Norway or whatever just to please someone in the mountain of Baha. I'm going to prioritize the produce that come from a certain radius. So within our sustainability standards, we have a certain percentage of produce that has to come from the lodge itself. So we have our own garden. We have a certain percentage that comes from the surrounding farmers and producers. And then depending on the location, we extend that radius to be able to reach certain sources of supply. The challenge when it comes to food is obviously making sure that the food is organic, that the producer is not wrapping every single cherry in a plastic bag and delivering to you, because the way this food is being sent to the resorts is also, you know, has, at the moment, not very high levels of sustainability. There is a lot of use of plastic, and we don't know what to do with it. So these are practical considerations that we take into consideration. But one of the key elements is obviously your team, the manpower. And when you're developing in, you know, but secondary cities or remote destinations, to be able to attract this talent, You have also, of course, the local community with whom you work and you train them, but you always need to supply this by attracting talents from abroad. And here, you have to give them an environment where they feel proud that they're working in such a destination. Their staff accommodation, the type of activities that you create for them has to fit with the environment in which they operate. We have, for instance, we're working on some tented projects where you give a very nice tented experience to your staff as well. You create modular staff accommodation units with very nice entertainment areas for them to spend time. So to be able to retain that staff, good accommodation, nice experiences, and you have to attract people that believe in your mission, which is about providing luxury, sustainable, experiential offering to your guests.
Okay, very good. Tareq, question for you in terms of activating a destination with the supply that is needed, because it was highlighted several times that obviously Baha is undersupplied and there's a big target to go to 10,000 keys by 2030. Do you think one opportunity would be to convert existing maybe residential apartments into hotels or furnished apartment product? Maybe not at a luxury level, but at a mid-scale economical level for that category of tourism as well.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we look at accommodation from many different perspectives. So, utilizing existing assets is definitely something that we work with. We're working closely with shared economy platforms such as Gathering and EWA and Tareq that are utilizing this asset class and helping us solve the supply issue. However, we want to add a bit of a twist to it. That's why we need more experiences, more involvement by operators and service providers to make sure that the offering is executed in the right manner. Now, what do we do to support that? It starts with regulation again. We licensed platforms such as Gathering to help them provide that service across the kingdom and make sure that even the consumer is getting the right type of service. The other piece is financing, and we're constantly thinking of new ways where we can support small entities in financing these type of projects, whether it's improvements to an existing asset or it's an expansion or whatever you may have in that sense. And we're constantly announcing new programs. My colleagues from the TDF mentioned the agreement that was signed just yesterday with the AMB, one of the local banks, to provide financing starting from so low as 30,000 riyals, because we believe that SMEs are the people that create the experiences. They are the people that make you feel where you are in the world, and they represent 80% of our sector at a global level. So it's extremely important for us to support them, and we're always thinking of new ways and improving the regulatory environment to make sure that we're creating the right environment for them to expand and flourish.
Oh, very good. Very interesting, actually. So basically, you're incentivizing or supporting the smaller entrepreneurs to set up their own coffee shops and their own establishments. I think that was what Sierra Group was mentioning as well, that in their project, they're looking at getting unique concepts, unique cafes, concepts that will be different from just another KFC, McDonald's, and Goudou next to each other. So I think this is very exciting. One question I have as well for you, Tareq, is regarding the slide you presented earlier showed that in 2021, Baha had 100% domestic tourism. 2022, There will be 99.99. Less than 100 at least, I'm here. What is the aim for Baha in the future? Obviously, I understand that the priority is most likely to remain as a domestic destination. But what is the aim for the future for Baha?
So let me take a few steps back. When we started with the National Tourism Strategy and we said, how are we going to achieve 100 million visits? We set out that as part of our plan, we will focus 95% of our visits from 2019 to 2024, 95% will be domestic and regional. So 5% will be inbound. Once we pass 2024, the infrastructure is ready, the giga projects have launched across different destinations. We're able to provide the full Saudi experience, and that's when we, ramp up our efforts in terms of attracting international visitors. That doesn't mean, for example, that the Saudi Tourism Authority will not do international marketing. No, they are committed since 2019 with a lot of international campaigns, because we believe, to build a brand, it will take us a while. It's not something that we do very quickly. But going back to your point, Saudi travelers are one of the highest spending tourists in the world. You have that captive audience right in your backyard. It makes absolutely no sense not to give them the focus and attention that they deserve. And we've seen Saudis, even middle income and in some cases budget travelers, but mostly a very strong middle income market, travel to other destinations and spend. And today they're demanding a better service, a better offering. So, we will continue to focus on domestic. Inbound is always more than welcome. Regional is very important. GCC travel is very important for us, especially for Baha. But the offering needs to be there, and we believe once the offering, is put in place, we will do our efforts as an ecosystem, whether it's through marketing or otherwise, to increase the number of visitation and also spend. Because numbers of visitors is all great and fine, but at the end of the day, what do the spend numbers look like? And that's part of our focus.
Yeah, thank you. Chris?
Just wanted to say, if the domestic market is one of the, it's extremely well traveled. If your hotel is able to please the domestic market, then when the international market comes, you'll be all right. So, focusing on the domestic market when you're designing your hotel, when you're conceiving the experiences, will allow you easily then to, once the numbers start adjusting, to be able to cater to the international market as well.
So now that you did mention that, what does it mean targeting or building to the specifications of the domestic tourists? Are there particular facilities, particular quality that they're looking for?
Again, in the context of mainstream hotels, yes, there are many considerations that operator take into account. And when you're doing a traditional building, obviously, your ratio of connecting rooms, of suites, of etc., has to be adapted to the domestic market. What we do, because all our units are standalone units, they're very spacious units, they provide privacy by default. Imagine you're going to the Maldives. The same product appeals to all markets, because the Maldives offer that type of luxury and privacy and space. So for us, it's an easier task for
So you developed your whole concept around it. Perfect. Shaikha, I want
adding to that, I think Baha has all the components and the ecosystem required for an international visitor to be attracted to visit. It's still untapped, especially for the region. There's a lot of people from Abu Dhabi, from the GCC, that have never visited Baha before. But for them to know that it's a historical city, the climate is amazing across the year. You have a lot of history. You have a lot of stories to tell. So domestic is very promising. Regional is very promising, and I think it will be, the international visitor will be very keen to visit very soon. But as Tareq said as well, having the right campaigns at the right time to promote for international visitors to come is also key.
One question I had to you actually, and this is probably my last question, or one of my last questions. Baha obviously is a relatively seasonal destination that you have, you know, high peaks and then you have the low season. Obviously the aim for any destination is to reduce the seasonality, to be able to increase the occupancy of the hotels and have, you know, tourists coming year round. So in your project in Baha, and maybe more in general in similar type of destinations, what would you do in the resort itself, in your development or as an operator, to make sure that even in the low season, you increase that a bit more to smooth?
Wellness is a component we're very keen to focus on. Wellness. So tying up with the right wellness operators, who we are already tied up with back in Abu Dhabi and other resorts that we operate, is key. So those operators already have their database, they have their clientele that follow them everywhere they go. And I don't think there will be a better destination than Baha for them to explore and at the same time enjoy in terms of wellness. As Chris was saying, agriculture is a great component as well in Baha. So there is a lot of elements that can be tied to wellness and will allow the visitor to maybe even stay longer and increase their length of stay and the occupancy.
It's about increasing activities and things to do and for different type of travelers.
Yes. Wellness is key, and ecotourism is key as well.
Ecotourism, all right.
And if I may add, so today, Baha is a seasonal destination. However, as an ecosystem, we believe it should not be. It should be a year-round destination, and there are things that we need to do to improve that severe seasonality. So the way we see it, it's one, branding and marketing and changing that perspective that especially domestic travelers have of Baha as being a summer destination. That we need to change. That's number one. And number two is creating a calendar of events throughout the year to attract visitors to Baha throughout the year. So in the low seasons, there is so much that we can build on to activate Baha. You have the Honey Festival, you have so many mice and different opportunities in that segment to be able to activate in the winter and by result achieve much better performance throughout, whether hospitality or otherwise.
When you're guiding investors through the journey, like Shaikha was telling us about adding these activities and facilities, is that something you get involved with, or just happy with adding rooms to the market? So
the way we look at it is we don't just look at accommodation. We look at the whole value chain, the whole journey from a tourist perspective. So today a visitor comes to Baha, what can they do? And how can we help the private sector create experiences and things to do for those visitors to come in and enjoy? So our support is not limited to real estate development and hospitality specifically, or accommodation specifically. That's number one, and that's very important. The other piece is, when I say we, it's not just the Ministry of Tourism, because we inherently believe that creating a tourism destination is not only the job of the Ministry of Tourism. It's the job of many different government stakeholders. You saw a live example of the Sira project, where you had those 10 logos of different entities working together. And this is what we have done as part of our ecosystem. So, we created something called the Tourism Development Council. That's chaired by His Excellency Ahmed Al-Khatib, the Minister of Tourism, and has membership of 16 other government entities at a ministerial level. So we have the Ministry of Culture, we have GACA, which is responsible for aviation and airports connectivity and what have you. We have, our colleagues at the General Entertainment Authority, the Ministry of Transport, and many, many more stakeholders that are all working together to help create a destination. So, that calendar and that type of activation will be done through those partner entities, and we hope we will get to the stage where, the government no longer needs to do it, where the private sector is able to take it upon their shoulders.
Oh, very impressive, very impressive. Just last question for Chris. When will we see an ENVI lodge in Baha?
So Tareq is putting pressure on us to secure one of the lands he presented earlier. So hopefully tomorrow we'll take one of them.
We'll show you a few.
Perfect.
Now we're really keen to have a project here soon. This is an important market for us, and this conference really proves that Baha is one of the top destinations.
Oh, very good. We just ran out of time, so if there are any questions, we'll be happy.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. We've noticed that there is a very a big, ambitious plan for Baha. So the investors are there, operators are there, the support from the government are there. But we all know our challenge in hospitality is the human resources. In the continuity of the support from the government, is there any plan to build or open school academy or training academy for hospitality in Baha?
So, as I said, human capital development is a key pillar of everything that we do. So, today we are utilizing, internationally reputable and well-acclaimed, the best of the best, to put it very clearly, to train our human resources, and this is where the program that I spoke about that plans to train 100,000 Saudis in these institutions. However, we do understand the importance of making sure those expertise are brought to the kingdom itself, and we've begun doing that most recently with the UNWTO regional office in Riyadh. That office is open and will also include an academy to train human resources at a world-class level. So it's definitely something that we do take into account, and I agree with you, it's very important.
Yeah, question here.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a question regarding the visitors, maybe to Mr. Tareq. You mentioned earlier, or maybe one of the panels, that the target number of visitors are targeted to be 1 million yearly compared to 500,000. When is the time frame for this number?
Sorry, do you mean the total target of 100 million?
No.
I think this, you're
no,
referring to
500,000
the airport
arrivals.
The airport.
Yes, airport
yes.
arrivals. Currently is 500,000, and the target is 1 million. When
yes.
is this target?
So this target is not for the visitor numbers. This target is for the capacity of the airport. So as part of the development of Baha's new airport, it is targeted to increase the capacity of that airport to 1 million. Today we have 2.8 million visitors or visits coming to Baha, and what we have noticed is a lot of those visitations come by road. So we're not only looking at the airport, and that's very important in terms of its capacity, and more importantly, the air connectivity. We need more flights. We need more flights from different places, not just from the main cities. So that's definitely something that we take into account. But in addition to airport travel, we realize and understand that a lot of people, and especially Saudis and regional travelers, like to travel by car. So we are making sure that the road infrastructure is also prepared, and that doesn't mean just the road itself. It also means what we can do in terms of rest stops and making sure that it's a comfortable journey and a well-serviced journey. So that's something that's actively being done, and hopefully very soon we'll see the results of it.
No more questions. I think that's it. Thank you very much to the panelists. Thank you.